I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barn. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barn. Today, we're going to be talking about Cory Booker just yapping on the Senate floor. And to me, it's so dumb and really doesn't matter. Democrats are praising it because he went over 24 hours. Like, oh my gosh, he broke a record. And Frank Lutz said he did a polling and stuff with a Democratic voter focus group, and this is like, he's right on the money from what Democrats want to see. And I'm a bit floored because it didn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. And it seems like a cry for attention, if not a flat out cry for help. But I guess it's news. It's news. Also, there are some elections that happened last night. It went well in Florida, not as well as it could have gone. Randy Fine was closer than it ought to have been, but as DeSantis said before, it's kind of a candidate issue. And in Wisconsin, we did not get, the result that we wanted. And Democrats are like, yay, we defeated Elon Musk, a billionaire, and not really wanting to acknowledge the billionaires that funded their liberal Supreme Court pick. So we'll be chit-chatting about that stuff. Also, I found a thread that I thought was a bit disturbing about some genetic testing and with embryos and things like that, and how it's worded is just very strange to me, that I just wanted to go through. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys, go to blackteanews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream and run my site, all the good stuff. If you guys can support, very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you to all of you who are watching live, and to all those of you who are watching back later. Appreciate it. All that does help. I see some people coming in on YouTube, and I see Craig there on Facebook. So thank you guys. Also, if you guys want to go to the website and support there, or if you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars, or YouTube, you can do super chats. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the site as well. So I encourage you guys to pick up some of that stuff as well. And also check out some of my books that are available. I'm going to be at Motor City Comic Con, which is less than 50 days away. They sent an email about that like a couple days ago. So it might be closer to 40 now. But I will have a table there. I don't think they sent me information on what booth I'll have. I'll make that available if anyone wants to come by. I know some people came by. A fan sent her husband because she couldn't make it out. She had to be with the kids and stuff. So, and picked up one of my books, and it was really nice. So, if anybody else is in the area or likes to travel to those sorts of things, they had some cool. Jeremy Renner is going to be there, I think, unless they cancel. They have some cool guests that are going to be there this year. They always got, some pretty cool guests, but I was just like, Hawkeye? Hawkeye is going to be at Comic-Con? So I'll have a table in Artist Alley. My youngest sister will be right next to me. And I don't know if we'll have some new stuff there or not. Well, I'll have to keep you guys updated if we can squeeze out some new stuff. I am always working and writing on stuff. Bill Nye, the Science Liberal, will be there. Martin Sheen, Jeremy Renner will be there. Rainn Wilson will be there. Malene Ackerman. I just saw a clip of her in 27 Dresses. She was the annoying sister. Sean Astin. I don't know if he's been to Motor City. He's been to stuff, Sam from Lord of the Rings, and John Berthenol, the Punisher. He's gonna be there. The Hardy Boys. Steve from Blue's Clues. The other, I think it's Joe, is a new one. Seth Gable. I know him from Fringe. He's on Fringe a little bit. I don't know what else he was on. He's on a couple things, but I know you guys aren't looking at the list, but yeah, so there's some neat folks who'll be there. I will probably be at my table for most of the entire time. So the last Motor City I slipped away to meet Mark Pellegrino, and he played Lucifer on Supernatural. And he what else was he in? He was in Lost. He played Jacob. And he's done a lot of different stints on different TV shows, but he's very outspoken online, and he's not a libertarian. I forget what he refers to himself as, but he's got some good political takes, and he was very vocal about, like, defending Israel during the October 7th stuff, and he's very, very defensive about free market principles and things like that. So I don't always agree with him, but he's got some good takes. So I went there and shot my shot. I was like, "Hey, you want to get on my show? Would you like to come?" And so he took my card, but obviously they didn't connect. But you got to shoot your shot. You got to shoot your shot. But it was neat. It was neat. Other than that, I didn't leave my table, but it should be fun. Should be fun. Other than that, I don't got any other announcements. So let's just go ahead and jump with the news. So I mentioned this yesterday that Cory Booker was on the Senate floor just chit-chatting, and my youngest sister called me. She's like, he's just on the floor, like, ranting. Like, did you hear about this? And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What would he even be, like, filibustering? What would even... I'm like, is this like an old thing that's going on? Like, I didn't even know at the time when she had called me that was happening. I'm like, I don't remember him doing that. I'm like, what bill would he be filibustering? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And he wasn't filibustering a bill. So I don't know if it's technically still filibustering, and if we should give him the record of the law. He's the longest yapper, I guess. And he was dehydrated and hadn't eaten, so he could go up there and speak for over 24 hours and not pee on himself and stuff. But, the Democrats, they're supporting him and cheering him on, and they're like, oh my gosh, she set this record. And they're excited about it. Now, if Democrats are cool with stunts and not real victories, then I guess there's a reason to applaud and be happy. And but you know what? People on the right, we like our stunts too. We'll cheer on a good meme and we'll cheer on a good video or whatever, and sometimes prefer flash over substance. I don't prefer... sometimes I like my flash. I like reporting on flash and talking about the flash, but there's got to be some substance. Some folks on the right, they just care about the flash, and there's people on the left who all they care about is flash. This is flash. This didn't do anything. It didn't do anything. I already said, I don't know if it was a cry for attention or a cry for help. We're talking about it regardless. But they celebrated him and all his time that he spent on the Senate floor. I was thinking like that would be a good, perhaps a good marketing opportunity for a book or something. Just get on the floor and just start reading one of my novels or whatever. Maybe that's maybe that's the reason. Go out for Senate so you can just start plugging your stuff and just reading. I mean, other folks was it Ted Cruz who read Green Eggs and Ham when he filibustered? But they were actually like filibustering like real stuff. Cory Booker just went on there to talk, and people have pointed out, like Kristen Cinema, by the way, that there's a lot of people cheering on this long windbag filibustering stuff when they wanted to get rid of the filibuster before. And they were saying, elect more of us and we'll get rid of the filibuster. And she's like, no, we should keep that. And they're like, no, it's a relic of Jim Crow. We have to get rid of it. And then they're all just cheering on Cory Booker. And Cory Booker, someone had retweeted that image that I had just showed you guys with them praising Booker. And here's a tweet from him saying the filibuster has been abused to stop reforms supported by a vast majority of Americans, foreign background checks, to protecting the right to vote. We must stop the abuse of power. So they think that the filibuster is an abuse of power, and yet he is there yapping for no purpose, just to make noise and being annoying to his colleagues. But I guess Republican colleagues in the nation at large, but to his Democratic colleagues, I'm sure some of them may be annoyed by it. Some of them probably just spent most of the day in their offices, chilling and relaxing and weren't sitting there listening to him the whole time. But what I found fascinating today is that Frank Luntz, who does these focus groups usually during election time, he said, I just hosted a focus group of Democrat voters who are very angry with Dem leadership in D.C. What Cory Booker is doing right now on the Senate floor is exactly what they want to hear. Democrats would be smart to get a transcript and copy it word for word. Word for word of his whole 24-hour speech. Some people are like, just list things that he said that were like stand out off the top of your head. It just happened. What do you know that he said it was significant? And then he posted this snippet. I'm probably only going to play the snippet. I'm not terribly interested in theatrical Cory Booker. Like prior to him coming in the Senate, people said that he used to like run things like he had some sense. And then you get to DC and then you have to become part of the clown show and you have to ride in the clown car. And you just do things for stunts and theatrics and to get along or whatever, instead of like being a sensible person. And Cory Booker, I wonder if he's gonna, I mean, it's early to start announcing you're gonna run for president. I don't know if he wants to run for leadership or whatever of the Senate, but because there is talk about how people are upset with Schumer. And so maybe I don't know if they're gonna want to upstage him. Schumer's obviously up there in age too, and if he's gonna try to make his play for I don't know, some kind of more authoritative role, or if it's just for eyes to oogle him as he considers running for president. But still at the end of the day, Cory Booker is going to be goofy Cory Booker. But I recall when they had Senate confirmation hearings on different stuff, and I think there's like 2, if not 3 different people that Cory Booker like was obsessed asking different judges if they had performed gay weddings. Not alleging that there was accusations of mistreatment from people based off of sexual orientations or whatnot. He just wanted to make sure that they had performed a gay wedding before, to know where they stood on LGBT issues, and just kind of nonsense. And I'm like, and this, dude would still go and try to campaign at churches and shake hands and kiss babies, knowing a lot of them ain't cool with that kind of stuff. But then you come to the Senate and you act a fool about people, whether or not they performed gay weddings. So he's just, he's goofy. He is goofy. I'm not saying Booker can't do reasonable things, but he's goofy. But here's a snippet.
He promised to lower your grocery prices. They're higher. He promised, I'll be a better steward of the economy. It's worse. Over and over, he's breaking promises and doing outrageous things like disappearing people off of
I'm sorry. I saw that my Wi-Fi got a little disconnected for a second, so I'm gonna start this clip over.
He promised to lower your grocery prices. They're higher. He promised, I'll be a better steward of the economy. It's worse than we inherited. Over and over, he's breaking promises and doing outrageous things like disappearing people off of American streets, violating fundamental principles of this document, invoking the Alien Enemies Act from the 1700s that was last used to put Japanese Americans in internment camps. Do we see what's happening? How much is enough? He promised.
So, I mean, there's some emotional invoking there with the internment camp situation, which, by the way, Democrats totally tried to, I guess, get that Asian vote by bringing up Japanese internment camps as if that wasn't a thing that, you know, happened under a Democrat president. But I want them to deport people who shouldn't be here, people who came here illegally, who have ties to criminal gangs that they have now designated as terrorists. Bye. I want them to do it competently, though. So, I see this comment. I was literally about to bring this up. Worse than ever. He just got in office. So I think this is a lot. This is a very early stunt too. This is a very, very early stunt to do when Trump just got into office in January. You know, yesterday was April 1st. He hasn't been president for that long. He is moving very quickly with a lot of things, executive orders and Elon Musk and Doge and things like that, and pushing some of his agenda. But as far as the groceries, a lot of things haven't happened. Even bad ideas that he may have had, or things that will cause things to go up. There hasn't even been a lot of time for markets can react very quickly. Gas prices can jump and rise based off of different announcements of different things. But the prices for some things have started to go down. Like the egg prices have started to go down. You know? So I just would say this is so disingenuous, but their conversations about the economy have been disingenuous for a long time anyway. I mean, when Biden became president, like, oh, he created more jobs than like anyone ever. Like, we just had the pandemic and people weren't working. And not only were people not working, you told people they couldn't work and you paid them not to work. And you made businesses close down, even if people were going to lose their businesses from not being open. And then you fined people, even put some in jail for going to work. It's such a wild thing to think about what we've lived through the past couple of years. And then Trump gets voted out of office and Biden comes in and they're just like, oh, all these jobs. President Trump had the worst job numbers ever. Oh my gosh. And Biden just had the best, as if there's no context that can explain the discrepancy. And every time I would see them make a graph or post a graph that showed Trump in the negative and Biden way, 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 way up, it would make me feel like, I think you guys killed the economy just for this graph, just for this talking point. And that doesn't make me prone to vote for you. That doesn't make me support you, because I'm not a moron going, oh yeah, that just, yeah, totally makes sense. But Republicans just suck and Biden's the best. That's not what happened. You're willing to lie about reality that we all just experienced to form whatever you want, whatever narrative you want that makes you look better. And worst of all, it seems like you kind of crafted the downfall of our economy on purpose to reinstall yourself and then pat yourself on the back. So I don't trust you people. It's really too early for this tantrum. And again, it's not attached to anything important. And there's people in the comments saying, "Oh, make sure that you do this for days when Trump has to try to, get the tax cuts and things like that. Like, make sure you do it for a long time." I don't think he can go longer than the 24 hours. I mean, you got to pee sometime. I don't know how much longer he could go. But it is clownish behavior. But now Frank drooling over Cory Booker, but I mean, he's reacting to what people are telling him. But if that's what Democrats are impressed about, okay, but he literally didn't accomplish anything. He literally didn't accomplish anything. But he did get some of that attention that he ordered. So I guess kudos to him. So something that did happen last night, liberals were able to keep a majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They were trying to get a conservative in there, and this could have major repercussions because they could try to like overturn some conservative wins in Wisconsin via the Supreme Court, but they could also try to they could recreate the maps and add some Democrat districts and just basically through the courts add Democrat seats, and then there goes the very, very thin majority that Republicans have. So Elon knew it was very important. You had Scott Pressler was out there door knocking and other stuff, and there were robocalls and all kinds of different things. And so the narrative is, oh, we defeated the billionaire. He's an unelected billionaire. How dare he, try to buy the seat? But you have George Soros, who's in the, corner of the very liberal Supreme Court justice, and you have Pritzker, who's pouring in his money, and I think another billionaire and stuff too. Like, there's incredible money that is poured into politics. Democrats complain all the time about too much money being invested in politics, and then they just keep pouring more money. And they have more billionaires than we do investing on their side, and they have a lot of PACs pouring money into stuff on their side. Elon is like whoop-de-woo, I guess, our guy who will invest in stuff as long as, I guess, he's into it or agrees with it or whatever, because he's just new to our side anyway. He was voting Democrat like a hop, skipping away, not too long ago. So now he's pouring some money into stuff. But that doesn't mean that just because he's pouring money into stuff that they know exactly how to do things on the ground. And it's not just a matter of you just throw in money and you're going to win. You have to know where to spend it. I don't know exactly what they did or what was their strategy and what were they hitting and what was effective, and if it was just kind of too late by the time they started pouring the money in or whatever. But the Democrats had their own billionaires. So this isn't a, yay, we defeated the billionaire. It's our billionaires beat your billionaire. We jumped you and we won. And maybe the money wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Maybe they're just, that's just where the state is, I guess, right now. I mean, that's just where the state is right now. But there was a little segment on CNN where they were discussing why it's okay for George Soros to go ahead and invest his money in this stuff versus why it's wrong when Elon does it.
And then go on about saving humanity. It's just an ego trip.
Well, what's interesting about it is you heard anytime anybody brings this up, a Republican will say, well, what about J.B. Pritzker, and what about George Soros, and what about this, what about that? And I guess the answer is you don't see George. First of all,
George Soros
you don't see them out there talking.
No.
Right? I mean, they might be giving money to organizations, this and
Right.
that, and people can decide
They
what
all
they want.
do. They all.
But the idea that like, oh no, I am going to tell these voters, forget like hiring Scott Walker to do it or
Right.
or somebody on the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to tell them.
Right. No, he has to suck up all the oxygen. There's only one other person that needs more attention, is Donald Trump, and then.
So George Soros, so Elon, when people come at Elon, he's just like, I'm very transparent. Like, I can't like get away with Scott Diddley squat 'cause so many eyes are on me. As a matter of fact, there was a conversation when he first started doing Doge a bit, and people were like accusing him of different stuff. And he was interviewed on Fox the other day. Maybe I can find that clip really quick if I saved it. But the I think Jessica, can't think of her last name, but she wears the glasses. Oh, here we go. Oh, nope, that's the wrong clip. She's talking to Elon. There we go. I did find it. Yeah, Jessica Tarlov. That's her name.
Liberal Tesla lover here. My sister has 2 in her family, so have not thrown any Molotov cocktails recently. But I wanted to talk to you about what Doge has been doing. So you've been making cuts to a lot of the agencies that have open investigations and regulatory battles with your companies. At the same time, you continue to get billions in government contracts. Tesla gets billions in subsidies. How do you explain that to the American people?
Well, everything that Doge.
Well, he's going to go on in his transparency thing, and I think he's had this. His answer is kind of long, so I'm just gonna it's not too terribly long that we're not going to listen to the rest of it, but I'm going to sum it up in a bit more concise way, and then I'll let you guys hear what he had to say, because he's addressed this before. But the accusation is, hey, Doge is cutting regulations or recommending cutting regulations that stall what you do, and at the same time, we give your company a lot of money in subsidies or whatever. So how are we supposed to take that? Like, it clearly just kind of looks like you're out for yourself, or you're doing all this stuff to benefit yourself. And he mentions that basically all these eyes are on me. It wouldn't make sense to do something shady, and I don't want to do something shady. But he was also asked this before, and he didn't mention it this time in this interview. But they were talking about different contracts that Tesla gets from the government. And he had just kind of challenged everybody. And he said, if there's a competitor that will give a better price, I like dare you to find them. Like, it's just a good deal. Working with me is a good deal. And so we're going to do what's fair for the government and the American people. And it's usually working with Tesla because we have the best stuff for the best prices or and whatnot. So if there's someone who offer a better contract that will save the Americans money, then you can go ahead and find that person and find that company who will, if they'll do a better product for a better price. Sure. So if anything nefarious is going on, yeah, absolutely, call me out. Sure. But like, why wouldn't he want to do things that are going to benefit not only his company, but all companies? Like, prior to him being, prior to the election, he was having a conversation. He would have different conversations about all the regulations that hamper up progress for Tesla. And Donald Trump is aware of that too. Like, he went on Joe Rogan and talked about that as well on their like 3-hour interview about all the different things that you have to do in the environmental impact reports and all that stuff. And Elon finds them annoying, and Trump finds them annoying. And if they're annoying for Elon, they're probably annoying for a lot of people, because what Elon does and Trump does, there can be some overlap, but or what Trump did rather, but they both had to deal with those aspects of the government. So they have something in common that they don't like and would like to change. So if they do have a change, like why would you go and advocate for things that are going to hurt you? I guess is my question. It's like she's asking him a question about him being like his motivations are self-serving. But why wouldn't you do things that are why would you do something that wasn't self-serving? I guess is my question. Like if you came in to go talk to Trump about like, hey, I would like to get a tax cut, and they're like, you got a tax cut. It's like, bruh, of course I got a tax cut. I don't want to pay more taxes. Like why wouldn't I want something that's going to benefit me and something that I think will be good for America in the long run? Now, if it's doing something that's going to cheat other people and hurt them, and it's something like illegal, or like I'm not saying that you push those things, you know, for your self-interest if it's going to be immoral or wrong. But if it's a good thing that will help the overall good and it helps you too, like why wouldn't you advocate for that? Why wouldn't you advocate for that? So why wouldn't he advocate for things to deregulate stuff when that was a big deal to Trump in the first term, like doing different deregulating stuff? So to me it just makes sense. Like why wouldn't you do things that are going to help yourself and other Americans? Like yes, it helps Tesla, but you don't think it's going to help other companies or other Americans, just that we're better stewards of our money? If the accusation is he's, you know, if there was a specific accusation of, hey, you're overinflating your value on these contracts that you're getting with the United States government, like that's really shady, then that's wrong. But as he said in another interview, like if someone else I dare you to find someone who would have a better offer than us. And if that was the case, then they should go with another company and not Tesla. But I'll go ahead and let him answer.
Doge does is an open book. So I think the most transparent the most transparent organization in government ever. Every single Doge action is listed on the Doge.gov website. It's also listed on the X handle. So if anyone has a concern about any one of those actions, they can bring that up. They can raise that. And I do want to say, like, sometimes we make a mistake. Nobody bats 1,000. We will at times make a mistake. We'll act very quickly to correct it. I am under such an extreme spotlight, so much scrutiny, that it's literally impossible for me to get away with anything nefarious. And obviously, nor do I wish to. So this is a case where we have radical transparency. We're actually willing to admit that we do make mistakes. Often people are not willing to admit they make mistakes, but we are. But we want to emphasize we fix them quickly, and we're trying to do the right thing for the American taxpayer, for the American people. And I think history will be the judge that what we've done here and what we're doing is a very good thing for the strength and future of America.
Yeah, for the strength of America as a whole. But I brought up that video and that question from Jessica there because, you know, Jake Tapper on CNN and stuff, they're like, oh, well, he's out there, people see him, and versus George Soros. And okay. Okay. Is it better to see him right in your face and to be able to debate with him and engage with him and to criticize him, investigate him publicly? So many people's in his baby mama drama, including me, by the way, like watching that go down with him and Ashley St. Clair. But I guess he's got a lot of baby mamas to choose from. But he's right. You can look up so much stuff and know so much stuff about Elon versus maybe it's a little harder to find stuff on the other folks. So people have been talking about George Soros for years. So is it better or worse that he's right in front of your face versus other people operating in the shadows and just pouring in the cash for their evil ideals? George Soros, he's been behind a lot of the lawlessness or abuse of the law or lack of the law for a long time. like people wanting to defund or have very liberal prosecutors who are going to let people go on low sentences or low bails or no bails, or different things like that. Those are his pet projects. So a lot of things that you see in your community, your neighborhoods, that maybe you don't like them because maybe how dangerous it is or how it's become. You're hearing about people who did terrible things and they're back out on the streets to go and harm someone else because of your, immoral, corrupt prosecutor. Go see if they're funded by George Soros. So who's really worse? Like, I can understand, like, people visually can be like, oh, there's Elon, that's an issue, but it's not like there's not photos of Alex Soros, George Soros's kid, with a bunch of Democrats in his like high-rise apartment or whatever. There's a ton of photos where they're like summoned up to the mountain to kiss the ring. So they're not quite as visible as Elon, to be sure, but we know who they are, and they're still doing some shady, evil stuff and investing a lot of money. I think the real reason they'll defend the libs is because they like what they do. They like what they do, and they're not too fond of Elon. But I do think I don't know, Elon can. I don't know what his whole strategy is with this pack. Again, you can't just fire hose money at stuff and expect to win. You have to have a good strategy for what's going on the ground, the right kind of surrogates, the right kind of messages, the right kind of mailers, and the right kind of ads, targeted ads, and everything's got to be on point. And it's too bad about the Wisconsin loss, but there was good news in Florida. Florida had some good election results. There was concerns about Randy Fine, whether he was going to win or lose. I mean, DeSantis said that he was going to win, probably not by the margins. And it was double digits, but it wasn't like Trump won like in that district, like plus 30 or something like that. And it was nowhere near those kinds of numbers. So not an amazing showing, but they did, Democrats did sink a lot of money into that seat, but there's always more money for them to light on fire because they have a lot. And they're lying when they say they want to get money out of politics. By the way, Kamala Harris, don't mean to jump scare you guys, decided to weigh in on Wisconsin.
Hi, Wisconsin, to all of you. I just wanted to pop by to say thank you. You all are just extraordinary. You love our country. You care. You are making such extraordinary sacrifices on behalf of so many people, on behalf of communities, on behalf of people you may never meet. And I just say thank you. There is an unelected billionaire who should not and will not have a greater voice than the working people of Wisconsin. Hi, Wisconsin, to all of you.
Someone has said the wine box has now chimed in. Kit Kat said, "Is she drunk?" That's what people believe. Her mouth seems a little stiff. If you see, like on this side of the face, did you guys notice that? I don't know what's going on there. Kit Kat said, "Not even just trying to be mean." Yeah, that's the vibe I've been had with her. JD Vance had said something. He was asked a question like, "What do you do differently than like the former vice president, like starting out your day?" And he said, "I stay off the wine" or something. There was some kind of like dig at her a couple weeks ago, but yeah, it's too bad about that election loss, but hopefully it's not indicative of what's to come in the midterms. But Trump has to deliver He's got some big plans with a lot of different tariffs about to go down. The White House is phrasing it that they want reciprocal tariffs, and like I guess using them to try to get other people to just lower theirs. And I guess Israel decided to drop all their tariffs that they had on against the US or whatever. And hopefully other people do the same, and we drop ours. Right now, there was an ad that the Canadian government was putting in like our major newspapers in Michigan, that tariffs are a tax on your grocery bill paid by the government of Canada. So the Canadians are trying to interfere in our Michigan elections. No, they are it's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that before. I'm not saying they haven't done it before, but that was in the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press. And those are some big papers in the state of Michigan. So they're going to war at the Trump administration for sure. And I just hope it works out, guys, because if our economies ain't hitting, it's, there's only so much that women's sports and boys going in girls' bathrooms is going to do for the country. Because at the end of the day, food on your table is what's going to be what determines the outcome of the midterms. So let's just hope for the best. Before I get to this next story, I do want to mention, I meant to mention this at the top of the hour, but Val Kilmer passed away last night. And so I think it was a little after midnight that I saw that. And with it being April Fool's Day, I was like, well, let me really check this. And so I saw it in like major papers and stuff like Variety and so on. And so I'm like, well, I figure not everyone is being fooled by an internet joke or whatever. April Fool's Day is so annoying. It's so annoying. Some jokes are whatever, but people be flat out lying. Like it's too much. So he did actually pass away, and he has been battling or he's a cancer survivor, but apparently from my understanding he died of an pneumonia, but he did suffer for a while. And he was only 65 years old. That seems pretty young to me, because it's like a little younger than my dad, but he had some really iconic roles. Of course, he was in Top Gun, and he was in Top Gun Maverick. That was nice to see him in that film, though even though he like couldn't speak, but it was nice that he was in there. I of course saw him in Batman. His, I don't know, is his most iconic role Doc Holliday? It probably is. Those are one of those roles. At least this is a chatter that I've heard today, that like that's the kind of role that like an actor like dreams of, and he just really nailed it and was really just iconic. So yeah, it was not totally surprised to hear that sad news, but most people had asked like what was your favorite film from Val Kilmer, and most people said it was Tombstone. So yeah, sadly it was true. It was true. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about this post I saw last night, this thread, and I'll just read through it real quick. When I was in elementary school, my mom started to go blind. retinitis pigmentosa, no family history, no treatments, no cure. I got lucky she didn't. It led me to build Orchard Inc. So my baby and everyone else's gets to win the genetic lottery, avoid blindness and hundreds of severe genetic diseases. Today, the New York Times covered the tech we've spent years building, whole genome embryo screening for hundreds of diseases, not in theory, not in mice, in humans, in IVF centers right now. And this baby was carefully selected as an embryo. And there's got a little picture of that baby there. If you could prevent your child from going blind, would you? From getting pediatric cancer at 5, the heart defect, schizophrenia at 22, from living a life radically altered by pure genetic bad luck? This is a choice parents are now able to make. Sex is for fun. Embryo screening is for babies. I said that in a video. People freaked out, but it's true. And it will only get more true as the tech improves. We screen for what matters, and nothing matters more than health. People say it's playing God, but let's be honest. Humans have been playing God since antibiotics, organ transplants, and open heart surgery. I don't think that's the same thing. Each breakthrough that extends or improves life face similar resistance before becoming standard care. Embryo screening represents the next evolution in preventing suffering by identifying genetic disorders before pregnancy even begins. We can spare families the heartbreak of watching children suffer from lethal, life-altering conditions. This is about giving every child the best possible start. But you said blindness. Blindness is not a lethal condition. It is like life altering, sure, but that doesn't mean your life isn't valuable. This is about giving every child the best possible start. We've always sought to protect our children. Embryo screening simply moves that protection earlier. The true moral question isn't whether we should use this technology, but whether we can justify withholding it when it could prevent needless suffering. This is scary, man. It's easy to critique from the sidelines, harder to tell a parent, sorry, your baby was born with a disease we could have prevented, but chose not to. This is a sensitive topic, and it should be, because it forces us to grapple with what we value most, what kind of world we want to build, what kind of lives we want our children to have. There's no one size fits all answer. We're not here to decide which lives are worth living. That's literally what she's doing. We're here to give parents more information and more agency in one of the most important decisions of their lives. Genomics is moving fast, and society is scrambling to catch up, and bioethics are not being considered here. But make no mistake, in 10 years, not screening your embryos will feel like not buckling your seatbelt. Proud of the Orchard team, proud of the families making courageous, informed choices, and proud to be building a space that actually matters. Let the debates rage. We'll keep building. And that's the end of the thread there. So to go back to the question of like, would you prevent your child from going blind if you could? And of course you would, if you could. Or I mean, some parents, I don't know, are strange and have not noble intentions for sick reasons or whatever, but yeah, you would want to prevent your child from having any kind of defect or illness or whatever. Of course you would. Of course you would. But this whole entire thread presumes that your embryos aren't your children. And you can prevent things prior to pregnancy. Well, you can prevent an undesirable embryo from being implanted, and then you can discard them, donate them for science or whatever. But you'd have to accept the premise that every embryo with your genetic material that is technically alive, sounds like she's pretty familiar with biology, so she knows the technicality of them all being alive. You'd have to just kind of disregard them as being your children. And the question isn't like, would you prevent your child from being blind? The question, in reality, it's let's get rid of the blind babies, all these children who could have been born who maybe might have been blind, or maybe would have had other sort of genetic conditions. We're gonna, just kind of filter them out, and they'll be gone. You know, she said this is a question about what we value. And I guess we don't value blind babies. We don't value blind children or deaf children or other things. This reminds me of Richard Dawkins. He had said something about the immorality of the Bible. He's always raging or whatever. And I'm just, where I saw a clip, like an older clip or whatever, him doing an interview. I'm like, this man's talking about the Bible or whatever. How often? I'm like, let me see. He's probably got some kind of quote about abortion. I bet he supports it. And then I found an article about a controversy he gotten into because someone asked him about if your child had like Down syndrome, like would it be, okay to abort them? And he said that he thought it would be a good thing to do that. Like that would be like the right ethical choice to abort a child with Down syndrome. So I mean, let's look at it a little differently. Like there are people who will get abortions, later ones, not because of a condition that the child will have that they will not live long after they exit the womb, or will probably not live too long, something like trisomy 18 or something like that. I've told a story and I wrote about it in my book. There was a woman from the UK. She was like, I don't know, around 25 weeks. And she discovered that her baby's foot was like this. And the doctor was like, hey, we can abort the baby. And think about how far along the baby is. It's, very developed. It's past the point of where it's developed consciousness from everything that we know about it or can presume about it. Feel pain, all that stuff. Be aware of the pain as well. And they're telling her that they can abort the baby because its foot is like this. And she's like, I'm good. I'm like, well, how are you going to raise it? Because she was a single woman at the time. I'm like, what are you going to do? And so she felt like she was coerced. And she ended up having her baby, but she felt like her doctor was kind of bullying her and pressuring her to do the wrong thing. And so she had her baby boy, and they had an operation, and they cut off his foot that was like this. And then they just gave him a prosthetic. And he's able to run and climb and play like other children. He's probably like 3, 4, something like that now. Cute little boy. And then it looked like she got a man too. But they were trying to get her to abort over that. So some people think medical, and they think like this baby's going to live 2 seconds after they get out of the womb, and there's no point in going through the rest of the pregnancy or what, and are thinking in like really, really sad terms like that. And no, it could be like, oh, they did the genetic test and maybe your kid has Down syndrome, or maybe they have something else that's not lethal, but in the words of this person, like life altering. When my sister, when she had her son, the oldest, they had a lot of, testing and other things like that. They had really good insurance and stuff with her husband's job and whatever. So they tested for a lot of things. And the second time around, they trimmed the fat on a lot of that stuff. And they're like, well, do you want to test on, to see if your baby has Down syndrome? And she's just like, I'm not going to kill my baby. And they were kind of taken aback by that. And she's just kind of like, it is what it is. Like, well, we gonna love him. We gonna take care of him. So, and then all those tests are, expensive too, and they, start racking up the bills and they go higher and whatnot. So that's another reason why they want you to do all those tests, those extra tests or whatever. So um some people get that news and they opt to go have an abortion, and they try to go have a new kid that was healthy. Most people would frown upon that and would think that was wrong. That's eugenics and it's bad. And that those people, their lives are valuable. And even though their lives won't be the same as yours, which no life is the same as yours anyway, that doesn't mean that it's not inherently valuable. It won't be subjectively valuable, especially to their family, their friends, and that individual. Like, you don't have a right to end their life. So a lot of those, like the screening and stuff, will be later. But if the abortions were earlier, pre-conscious or whatever, a lot of people would probably still say, that's gross and wrong to do that too. So let's just roll the clock back some more. And these undesirables are embryos. And it's just a matter of who you're going to implant and not implant. So I think this is more than just like saying, oh, people say it's playing God, but that's what they said about heart surgery. When that's a situation where you're trying to preserve life. You're in the interest of trying to preserve life, like donations and other things like that. You're talking about switching people out. Like, okay, this one we're going to let die. This one we're going to destroy. This one we're going to give to the lab. Not like with IVF, there's embryos, they may make a lot and some of them don't survive. And when you're, there's a lot of embryos don't survive, period. Like when you just have sex the natural way, but this isn't the same. This isn't the same. And the whole entire discussion is just ignoring that life does start at conception. Life does start at conception. You may not value it at conception, but it sounds like she doesn't value individuals' lives inherently anyway. And you do want to give your kid the best chance at life. You do want them to live happy and healthily and all that stuff, but you can't guarantee a life without suffering. You can't guarantee one without struggle. And the only thing that she's doing in this case is guaranteeing a death sentence for the children that don't rise to the occasion for her. And I don't think it's on you to determine whether your child gets to enjoy their life or not, or whether or not they'll have a life worth enjoying. Why is it on you to do that? That's when people say you're playing God. Not because of like heart surgery. I'm not saying people didn't say that, but I just think it's such a silly comparison to try to, justify what you're doing. And a lot of times when people bring up conversations about IVF, there are a lot of people, even pro-life people, will say, oh, it's just an embryo. It's not a big deal. You are not you unless you at least make it past that stage. Like, the moment you exist is when that sperm and that egg come together, and they no longer exist. Those two things no longer exist, and a new thing exists, and that new thing is you. So if you could, like, I don't know, drop some like stuff in the little petri dish and it cures the blindness and it never will develop into that and any sort of other diseases or anything, and you found some kind of, I don't know, magical cure for all that stuff, and you put into some kind of saline solution, cool. But that's not what they're offering. And they're telling parents, hey, you're just making sure your child will live a life without blindness. When the truth is, you're just making sure that your blind child just won't have a life. Yeah, Kit Kat said, my niece is blind. I value her life very much. So do her parents. Stopping her from being blind is not the same as stopping her from being born. These people are sick, the way they word things. Yeah. I have thinking about kids I know who are, I have different defects, or people in my life who have people who are deaf or um have other sort of conditions. And it's just madness. The way that I found that thread, there's a pastor who I follow who had retweeted it, and he said, everybody's always trying to find Eden. Like the Garden of Eden, and they do everything but like turn to God. And that's true. They're out here in the pursuit of perfection, but at what cost? At what cost are they doing it? So trying to see. Yeah, there's a lot of comments, like one of the several despicable evils of our time prevent blindness by killing all blind people even before they go blind. Yeah, it's even before they go blind. And one of the examples she used said something about schizophrenia at 22. Now no one wants to be schizophrenic or whatever, but like think about John Nash. Like you want to erase John Nash? Oh gosh. In Nobel prize winners and from existence because they might develop schizophrenia when they get older. And then even if the latter end of your life is difficult, which that tends to be the case for all of us anyway, what about those first 22 years? What about those first 22 years? It's worth just you not existing because at 22 something's going to go bad. So that makes me question, like, how much life has to be up to your standard before you'll even grant it. Like, I was thinking some time ago about like the question of I guess I was thinking about the Kate Cox story with the child. She had a child who had, I think, trisomy, might have been 18, and the baby wasn't going to live long after it was born. But I mean, our medical community doesn't act like they're going to live long, so if there's better care for them, maybe they would live longer. But she had an abortion basically because she didn't want to use her C-section on a disabled child. So I was thinking about like I guess the philosophical question of like how much life would you feel that your child needed to have for it to be worth protecting at all? So is it a couple minutes, a couple hours, is it a couple years? Like what if like if you've ever seen the TV show Death Note, it's an anime, and there's a death god called a Shinigami, and they can see how long you're going to live, and they can write your name down. They carry this journal called the Death Note, and they can write your name because they can see your name too, and then they'll write your name, and then you'll die. And you'll just die of a heart attack unless they specify how you're going to die. And in the premise of in the show, there's a Shinigami named Ryuk who's bored, and he just drops the notebook into the human world, and then this kid who's a super genius named Light Yagami finds it, and he picks it up, and then he starts killing criminals. And so he gets this god complex real quick, really quick. And so then the show is like a game of cat and mouse with this the world's most brilliant detective trying to figure out who it is, which he's like very certain it's Light, like right off the bat, but he doesn't like have the evidence to just flat out be like, yeah, it's totally you. Let's arrest him and execute him. Anyway, it's a really good show. And good manga. I watched in Japanese, I watched it in English, I read the manga, I saw the Japanese films that they did. I did not see the Netflix one, but if the Shinigami could present its eyes to the parents and they could see when the child is in the womb, like, oh, your baby will only live 10 years, your baby will only live for 3 years, your baby will only live till 35, like, would there be parents that say, whew, gosh, I'm 18 weeks along and I don't know if I want to keep going if my baby's only going to live 4 or 5 years. Like, would people think about that? Would people decide to abort on that? I think it's maybe some people would, and it'd be more like what you can get out of your child's life rather than valuing every day of it and them just honoring them as a human being, respecting the fact that they're inherently valuable all on their own. And I don't know, to me it seems like it's just, you're saying it's a lot for your children, but a lot of it seems like it's about personal ego. And I don't know if that will seem very cruel to a parent out there who is struggling with a ill child and has had to deal with that, but sometimes when we have these conversations about this, or mostly I think about abortion, you'll sometimes hear people say like, I want to be in the best position, I want to give my child the world. Well, you can't give your child the world if you kill them. So the bare minimum has to be, you have to start with life and go from there. And sometimes they'll say like, oh, well, I don't want my child to suffer, I don't want to have them to experience poverty and all. You can't, even if you build like the perfect life of what you presume things can change, life is not linear. You can't just control it that much. You can try, you can plan, but that doesn't mean things will always be as good as you want them to be. But I think a lot of the time it's not about wanting to prevent your child from suffering, but it's a lot about trying to prevent yourself from being in the position where you are a parent having to struggle while having children, or being a parent having to have that burden of watching your children struggle. So I think that's a lot on the parent. Like I've talked at times about how my family, we had different periods in our lives when things were very hard financially, and the stress that it had on the kids was like nothing like it was on my dad. My mom was very much like, Lord, you see us, like you handle it or whatever. She didn't like to stress herself out about that stuff, but she had a very simple faith. But my dad would, be upset at times, like snap, be angry, like about the situation and stuff. So it's just a different pressure than like, oh, you can't go to McDonald's tonight. Like, oh man, that sucks. But it's different when it's like the dad's like, gosh, how are you going to pay for this bill? I don't know, I'm going to pay for this bill. It's a totally different perspective. So I think a lot of it is about not doing what's best for your kid. It's about doing what's best for you, because what's best for your kid is the fact that you made them. They do exist, even if they're in a petri dish. I don't condone the fact that they're in a petri dish in the first place, but you did put them there and you paid for them to be there, and they are alive, and you should not kill them because they're not up to your standard. You just don't, it's not right for you to make that decision. It's not right. It's not right. But I will say, before I let you guys go, the other day I was having a conversation because someone had a picture of like an artificial womb, And people were so excited, and there were a lot of people on the right were like, no, this is a monstrosity. And then there was a gay guy in a comment. He's like, oh, but people, will be good because people keep talking about how gay people are using surrogates and it's wrong and stuff, so we can have artificial wombs. And folks are like, no, but we shouldn't be doing that to babies anyway and stuff. They should, be in their mother's womb and et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, you're just trying to say that gay couples can't have kids. So I replied and I said, gay couples can't have kids. It's not that we're saying they can't have kids. They literally cannot have them because you need the genetic material from not a same-sex couple, but a heterosexual couple. You got, whether they're together or not, you got you got to get the mom and the dad. Two daddies, two mommies can't make a baby. That's just not how it works. So it's not that we're saying you can't. It's you literally can't. And let me see if I can find the conversation a little bit on Twitter, because that's where we were talking about it. And then it went to his next reply was, well, women shouldn't be allowed to get abortions without consent of the father. Hey, they helped create the child that the mother is killing. Now, I thought that was funny because he probably thought he ate with that. Like, oh, I'm going to get this girl. I'm going to go after abortion. And I said, women shouldn't be allowed to have abortions, period. It's premeditated homicide. And so then he admitted it was murder. He's like, it's murder, but it's allowed. So if a woman is allowed to kill her babies, then why can't two gay men raise a kid? So because women can murder their babies, hey, then a gay couple should be able to raise a kid. And I just thought it was interesting that he connected those dots some kind of way. And I'm like, I just wouldn't make that kind of comparison. Like, hey, they can do this really awful thing, and so we can at least do this thing. And so he admitted it was murder. I'm just like, do you want so if you think it's wrong, I can are you going to vote accordingly and try to get rid of it? And he's like, well, I don't do politics. And I said, you don't vote? And then he didn't respond. I don't know if he doesn't vote or whatever. If he doesn't, it's probably for the best, but he's the one who brought up abortion. It was like, I don't do politics. But I don't I find it morally I think it's a moral travesty. So I'll phrase it, a moral travesty if you build a child to purposely deny them their natural right of having a mother and a father, their mother and their father. I think sometimes in life that happens. Parents die. Parents sadly get divorced. Sometimes parents are awful and they're just genetic donors, unfortunately, and you may end up, I don't know, abandoned at a fire station or something, and then you'll have, someone to adopt you. So there's redemptive ways to try to fix a broken situation. But if you are deliberately saying, hey, we're going to make this child, we're going to get the donation here, and we're going to have the two dads or two moms or single mom or single dad, and we're going to purposely create a world, a life where this child doesn't have a mother or this child doesn't have a father, I think that's immoral. And if you don't, you have to explain to me why you think mothers are so invaluable or why you think fathers are so invaluable. You have to make that case to me. I'm not saying you can't have a good life without a mom or a dad, or that the people who will raise you won't love you. But I think we need to stop focusing so much on what we want, and acknowledge that when we start creating other human beings, we owe them certain things. We have certain obligations to them. So, and it's funny with all this conversation about the IVF stuff. They'll say, well, there are ethical ways to do it. The industry, if you could try to make that case, and there are parents who are like, well, whatever children I make, I'm going to implant, and kudos to you. But we know that the industry won't allow or can't function if more ethical things are regulated. Because when the Supreme Court case in Alabama said that parents could sue because a clinic destroyed their embryos, or not a clinic, but they allowed someone in, they should have been watching, a room, and they should have had, it locked and all this stuff, and someone came in and destroyed their embryos, not their eggs, their embryos. And the Supreme Court said that, yes, they can sue for wrongful death of a minor. The IVF industry flipped out because of the repercussions of looking at these embryos as if they're children. What do you think you're making? If you create a life, you have a responsibility to that life. And if you cannot handle the challenges, the struggles, and the beauty that comes with it, you can be a good auntie, or a good uncle, or a good scout leader, a good coach, a good teacher. You can teach taekwondo or dance, something. You can be a dog mom. I don't know. But if you can't handle the reality of you have to put your kids above your wants and your needs and desires, not all your wants and needs and desires, but you do have to prioritize them. If you can't, if you can't do that, then parenthood, it just isn't for you. Or it shouldn't be for you. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because those cost to stream and run my site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available at the store. I saw a TikTok. It was like, what's the most controversial shirt that you own? And I was wondering, like, is it this one, this goat hoodie and goat t-shirt with Lincoln and Washington and Reagan and Trump? I know it's not probably controversial for you guys, but a lot of people find it controversial. Is it that one? Or would it be some of my, I have this women's XX Club shirts. I'm like, I don't know. I was thinking about it. I mean, the XX Club thing should not be controversial, though. Might be the goat shirt. I might have to do a reply video. The one that they had in the video I saw was messed up, though. But you'd have to be an anime fan to get it. If you've seen Fullmetal Alchemist and Dragon Ball Z, I guess you'd have to be familiar with Dragon Ball Z. But it was a shirt of Nina. She was a little girl, and she was doing the fusion dance with her dog. And if you don't get that, it's kind of too much to explain. But I would say that Fullmetal Alchemist is a very good TV show, very good anime. If you haven't seen it, you can watch Brotherhood or the other Fullmetal Alchemist. It's a good watch. Anyway, thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and God bless.